Next on the lineup of keynote addresses is Dr. Andre Nonguierma from the UNECA, that's United Nations Economic Commission for Africa. Andre Nonguierma is currently the chief of the Geospatial Information Section at the UN Economic Commission for Africa. He oversees the ECA's work in advancing holistic geospatial information management strategies and governance, and providing assistance to African countries and regional entities in the development and implementation of spatial information infrastructures. Mr. Nonguierma brings more than 30 years of professional experience in the field of geospatial science and technology. His professional journey is highly focused on leveraging geospatial data, information analytics to support strategic decision-making and evidence-based policy analysis across a range of applications from the public sector to academia and the private sector. Thank you, Mr. Nonguierma, for coming. You have the floor, please.
So let me quickly say some few words after what has been said by my predecessor. They said everything all, but I am very pleased to be here this afternoon for the launch of the Space Leadership Institute. And first of all, I would like to convey to you the warm greeting of the Executive Secretary of the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa. And space is a key pillar in the programmatic framework of the ECA. I'm also pleased to see so many people coming from various institutions, from the public, to private sector, to academia, and also from various places in Africa and outside the continent, gathering here today to discuss and exchange view on how we can better leverage the potential of space science for sustainable socioeconomic development in Africa. As a personal view, after many years of preaching in the wilderness, if I may say like that, you can measure how much pleased I am today with the launch of this institute. For me, it's a timely opportunity given to all of us to discuss and address the full potential of space in the context of the African development agenda, and has outlined it in the business model of the institute. I believe that we are seeing that the regional space capacity is improving in Africa, with so many countries participating in a variety and notable space technology initiative. And as we stand today, there is no more question that space technology have been and will continue to play a critical role in sustainable development, in innovation and industrial development of our continent. But of course, to fully leverage the potential of space technology, we do need readily available infrastructure and also the related skilled manpower. As for today, I would like to highlight three main features maybe we should have in mind as we continue to discuss today. My first point is that current, actual, and future development of space science in Africa should not be extraneous driven with a simple transfer of result tools to Africa, but rather should be designed with the constant concern to implement and integrate the technology effectively in homegrown operational program. And I believe that as we are seeing what is happening inside the African Space Leadership Institute, this point is very well taken. The second aspect of it is that effective development of space science and technology may require the establishment or consolidation of institutional and policy frameworks, including laws, regulations, policy that will encourage collaboration, synergy, networking between all stakeholders using space technology. And that will also ensure that we have a collective vision, purpose, and action toward an African lead, an African managed, and an African owned space infrastructure. I believe that having legally binding international treaties, law, regulations, done scale, of course, at national level, are important to ensure responsibility, accountability, and ethical use, and also peaceful use of our common outer space. The United Nations has established what we call the Integrated Geospatial Information Framework. And this framework put in place a robust legal and policy pathway that, on one hand, can help us integrate the space and geospatial policy and legal framework, and in the other hand, can also be essential to institute appropriate national space and geospatial information legislation and policy that will enable the availability, accessibility, exchange, applications, and management of space-related information. So, on a third note, I wish to also underline that space technology are not only about the technology itself, or about the data, or about human capacity. From where I'm sitting, I can see that is also, after all, a matter of lack of appropriate policy and institutional governance in most African countries. So policy development, as we all know, is a highly sensitive issue, and it involves people, hand users, decision makers, policy makers, and sometimes it also involve their influence and their privilege. Therefore, we need to start in the mind of these people, the mind of the most influential one, the policymakers and the decision makers. And for that, I can see that the launch of the African Space Leadership Institute today may be the best way to proceed. And for me, it's a strong signal that the spatial awareness is improving in our continent. So the question now is, how do we continue to arouse the interests of our policymakers in what we are doing and in what we are able to bring to the socio-economic development of the continent? Another aspect, and is the last one that is important to me, is the development of the infrastructural capacity for space application. Of course, a sustainable for the future will go in parallel with building what I must call multi-level infrastructure and network through operational environment, so that we continue to increase the African ownership in all levels of space application development over the continent. And today, the launch of the Institute offers a good opportunity to address some of the challenges or some of the issues of space science in Africa. So my understanding is that the Institute will help us discuss among ourselves, ask some of the questions like, what do we see as the main gaps and challenge for the uptake of science technology by African countries, and what deserve priority attention? what could be some of the key elements, the core elements about the importance of space technology to enhancing policy decision by African countries. What are some of the quick wins we can put in place to stimulate the usage of space science and technology for socioeconomic planning and management? We should also ask ourselves so far why space science and technology is not well introduced into the working environment of many of our African nations. Is that data issues, capacity issues, financial issues, what? I believe that those questions might be openly discussed within the Institute, and we have has to detect some of the core niches where we should put more effort and put more emphasis. So as I conclude, I would like to reiterate again how much the Economic Commission for Africa will continue to be committed to support all initiatives, all programs, all networks, all African countries in their effort to strengthen their space system and infrastructure. We'll continue to use our convening power because this is where we can best contribute to initiatives like this one, to foster the dialogue with Mama Said, African Science and Research institutions, as well as other sectors like the private sectors, the civil society, to increase the awareness in space science and technology and the insight space science and technology can bring to economic growth and social development. We are seeing the Institute to be a kind of catalyst, and if I might say, a think tank that will rightly advise institutions like ECA, like the African Union, like the African Development Bank, where we should give more emphasis and where we should put our hand in terms of developing strategies, business model, and application to support the overall continental space enterprise in the continent. Today, Dr. Abiodun, Dr. Val, Lulu, a team, we are all proud of this big achievement. And I conclude in begging for you to pardon yourself and be proud of what you have done and will continue to do from now on. Congratulations. And with very best wish for every success to come through the African Space Leadership Institute. Thank you for the opportunity of giving this quick remarks. Over to you, A team.